Hello and welcome to the Basic Rules, brought to you by TSR, TM, Dungeons and Dragons, Fantasy Adventure Game, Basic Rule Book. So, I wasn't going to talk during this video at first and just read the rules straight. But after reading the first paragraph, I already ran into some problems. So, this might be annotated. I don't know what I will say. It's 5:11 p.m. September 4th, 2023. Okay. My personal story with this is it's the first D&D product I ever bought. So I have high interest in this. There's the cover illustration. A female wizard is about to throw a glowing globe at a green dragon. And there's a Viking warrior type with a medium wood shield and a spear. Alright. This painting was done by Earl Otis. And this painting alone got me into D&D. Well, my friend was into it, but this artwork made me want to play the game really bad. It just sets off my imagination, even to this day. When I look at this, it's like, hey, I want to play. Alright. TSR, the Game Wizards. 1980 TSR Hobbies Incorporated. All rights reserved. Dungeons and Dragons is a registered trademark owned by TSR Hobbies Incorporated. The original fantasy role-playing game for 3 or more adults, ages 10 and up. Alright? You can play solo with one person or just the Dungeon Master and one player. Gary Gygax used to do that. Alright, so this is a PDF file. It's for free. Just type into Google search Moldvay D&D Basic Rules. It'll come up and you can take a look at it. So right away, table of contents. Other people on YouTube don't read this stuff. Do I want to? Not really, because I'm going to read it all anyway. Alright, index at the front of the book. Who made this PDF? That index is supposed to be at the end. Dungeons and Dragons Fantasy Adventure Game Basic Rule Book. This is a good drawing. Alright, a dwarf, an elven fighter, some archer dude, and a stereotypical wizard. Alright. Fighting another dragon. So, in all the time playing Dungeons and Dragons, we never fought a dragon. Dragons? I'm not kidding. Dragons were too tough. Any dragon, even the lower level ones, would have killed us. We were hoping to get high enough level to kill a dragon, but we never did it. So by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. Gary Gygax is a hero in my book. And Dave Arneson actually was the first one who actually came up with Dungeons and Dragons. And Gary Gygax attached himself, and history was made. Dave Arneson has an article on Wikipedia You can read it. It's not as exciting as the one about Gary Gygax, who was more of a spokesperson, celebrity, outgoing, kind of friendly person, while Dave Arneson ended up teaching at Full Sail University. Is that right? Which is funny because I think J.D. Harmeyer from the Howard Stern Show went to Full Sail University. Anyway, edited by Tom Moldvay. So, he actually wrote the book. So, the game is by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. But this booklet is written by Tom Moldvay. So, I don't like that. It's just edited by him. Previous edition edited by J. Eric Holmes, who was a doctor who wrote the Holmes basic set. Copyright 1974, 1977, 1978, 1981. TSR Hobbies Incorporated. All rights reserved. So this was published in 81. And only 3 or 4 years later, because of Brian Bloom, the president of the company, TSR was at least $1 million in debt due to mismanagement. All right. Illustrations by Jeff D., David S. LaForce, Errol Otis, James Rosloff, Bill Willingham, cover by Errol Otis. Dungeons & Dragons and D&D are registered trademarks owned by TSR Hobbies Incorporated. This book is protected under the copyright laws of the United States of America. Any reproduction or other unauthorized use of the material or artwork contained herein is prohibited without the express written consent of TSR Hobbies Incorporated, which is too bad because it's many years later and I'm making a video of copyrighted material. Distributed to the book trade in the United States by Random House Incorporated and in Canada by Random House of Canada Limited. Distributed to the toy and hobby trade by regional distributors. Printed in the USA, first printing January 1981. ISBN number 0-935696-48-2. B1. Oh, the page number is B1 because this is basic, and the expert set uses X1 or X on the number. Okay, so I'm talking a lot in this video because of the very first little paragraph. Early D&D and later D&D suffers from typesetting problems. So there's no indentation on the paragraphs. And I was looking at this, I was like, this just doesn't look good. It's annoying. It should be like a book. It should be like any other book. Forward. Yet, I prefer this typesetting to later editions of D&D. At least I can read this. Forward. I was busy rescuing the captured maiden when the dragon showed up. 50 feet of scaled terror glared down at us with smoldering red eyes. Tendrils of smoke drifted out from between fangs larger than daggers. The dragon blocked the only exit from the cave. Okay, so I was looking at this today. I wrote what happens next, but due to YouTube's rated G and PG rules only, well, I can't read what I wrote. But, of course, you read that and you want to know what happens to the guy and the girl. Now, in terms of D&D, one single fighter has no chance to kill a dragon. So I would say that both of them die. There's no way they can survive against the dragon. Unless they find a secret door and go into a dungeon. So, I will publish what I wrote somewhere on the web eventually. So now he writes, sometimes I forget that D&D fantasy adventure game is a game and not a novel I'm reading or a movie I'm watching. The original D&D rules are a classic. They gave the first gaming system for fantasy role-playing and, in my opinion, are still the best set of rules on the market. When I revised the rules, I tried to maintain the spirit of the earlier rules. Those rules were written for people with a background of gaming experience. This revision was designed to be easily read and used by individuals who have never before played a role-playing game. All right? In the half-dozen years since the original rules were published, the TSR staff has answered thousands of rules questions because the writing was so bad that no one could understand them, is what was going on. The answers helped find problem areas in those rules, areas which could either stand minor improvements or were difficult for novice gamers to understand. This revision was aided not only by the collected gaming experience of TSR personnel, but by the gaming experience of the thousands of players and DMs who sent us letters in the mail because they were completely confused. The D&D game has neither losers nor winners. It has only gamers who relish exercising their imagination. The players and the DM share in creating adventures in fantastic lands where heroes abound and magic really works. In a sense, the D&D game has no rules, only rule suggestions. That's a very important line. No rule is inviolate, particularly if a new or altered rule will encourage creativity and imagination. The important thing is to enjoy the adventure. In other words, to have fun. If you're not having fun, don't play this stupid waste of time game, is basically what they're saying. Because it is a waste of time. I'm just approaching it as a hobby. I unwrapped the sword which the mysterious cleric had given me. The sword was golden-tinted steel. Its hilt was set with a rainbow collection of precious gems. I shouted my battle cry and charged. Here we go. Let's see, where am I? My charge caught the dragon by surprise. Its titanic jaws snapped shut inches from my face. I swung the golden sword with both arms. The sword blade bit into the dragon's neck and continued through to the other side. Wow. With an earth-shaking crash, the dragon dropped dead at my feet. The magic sword had saved my life and ended the reign of the dragon tyrant. The countryside was freed, and I could return as a hero. And there is no mention of the girl. What happened to the girl he was rescuing? There's no mention of her. Does he really want to return as a hero? Or does he want to get a date with the girl? Or, you know, if the girl is rich, maybe he wants a reward for saving her life. Okay. So one guy with a magic sword was able to kill a dragon. In the game, to get such a magic sword, would you have to be level 20? Acknowledgements. The authors and editors wish to extend their thanks to the following individuals who helped make this book possible through their ideas and contributions. Brian Bloom, the creator of Vecna, who stole the idea from the writings of Michael Moorcock. See, I'm starting to find out all this stuff. Thanks to Captain Courageous on YouTube. I learn a lot about D&D from him. Dave Cook, fired after 15 years. Brian Bloom, eventually, bankrupted the company. I guess they eventually got rid of him. Ernie Gygax, the son of Gary. Alan Hammock, Kevin Hendricks, Harold Johnson, Tim Kask, Jeff Key, Rob Kuntz, Alan Lucian, Steve Marsh, Frank Menser. He's a good writer. He wrote a lot of material for D&D. Mike Mornard, John Pickens, Brian Pitzer, Michael Price, Patrick Price, Paul Reich III, Evan Robinson, Gordon Schick, Lawrence Schick, Edward G. Sollers, Don Snow, Stephen D. Sullivan, Ralph Wagner, Jim Ward. Wow, Jim Ward from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Probably not. Gene Wells and Bill Wilkerson. Special thanks to Harold Johnson and Frank Menser for their care and dedication in reorganizing and fine-tuning this book. Okay, there we go. We're already 16 minutes in. Part 1, Introduction. What the D&D game is all about. Dungeons & Dragons Fantasy Adventure Game, D&D game for short, is a role-playing adventure game for persons 10 years and older. I would challenge any 10-year-old to read this book and be able to play the game. In the D&D rules, individuals play the role of characters in a fantasy world where magic is real and heroes venture out on dangerous quests in search of fame and fortune. Seems simple enough. Characters gain experience by overcoming perils and recovering treasures. As characters gain experience, they grow in power and ability. At least 2 persons are needed to play the game, even though the cover of the box says 3. Though the game is most enjoyable when played by a group of 4 to 8 people. Okay, this game, unlike others, does not use a playing board or actual playing pieces. That's not actually true. All that is needed to play are these rules, the dice included in this set, pencil and paper, graph paper, and imagination. You need a lot more stuff than that. The game may be more exciting if miniature lead figures of the characters and monsters are used, but the game can be played without such aids, which is not as fun. It's all about the miniatures. How to use this book. This book contains all the basic rules necessary to play Dungeons & Dragons Fantasy Adventure Game. It has been organized into 8 parts. How convenient. Part 1, the introduction, explains general background information and defines many of the terms used. These and other terms are collected and defined in the glossary in the back of the book. Part 2, player character information, explains how to create a player character and is arranged in numbered, easy-to-follow steps. Part 3, spells, lists magic user, elf, and clerical spells, along with a description and notes on the use of each spell. Okay, let's see. There we go, that makes it easy. Part 4, the adventure, is filled with general information useful to all the players. Most of the action in D&D games take place during encounters, so Part 5, the encounter, deals with these actions, including combat. Part 6, monsters, contains descriptions and explanations of over 100 monsters, arranged alphabetically. Part 7, Treasure. Treasure explains the different types of treasure and many magical items which a player characters may find during their adventures. Part 8, Dungeon Master Information, gives a step-by-step design of a sample dungeon level, plus tips to help the referee. Well, that's nice. Okay. This rule booklet deals mostly with adventure in a dungeon and explains the different player character classes, professions, from the first to the third level of experience. These and other terms will be explained later in this booklet. The D&D Expert Set, which I will eventually film, adds to these rules, providing further details for player character classes from the 4th to the 14th level of experience, and gives rules for adventuring in the wilderness outside of the dungeons. A supplement, the D&D Companion Set, provides further details for player character classes from the 15th to the 36th level of experience. We never got that high. And if these basic rules don't confuse you, don't worry. The D&D Expert Set will. I've never seen the D&D Companion Set. I'd have to look that up. Each rule booklet is drilled with holes. Oh, here we go. So that if desired, the pages may be cut apart and rearranged in a ring binder. And guess what? I was a fool to do that. And then, after you take apart both the basic and the expert rules, and you put it in a notebook, then the pages tear. And then you lose the pages. And then you can't play the game. Oh, I so regret taking apart my basic and expert books. I put it into a gray notebook. To cut the pages apart, either scissors or a razor knife and a ruler may be used. To cut the pages apart, comma, no comma, either scissors or a razor knife and a ruler may be used. All right. It's not perfect writing, is it? But it's not bad. The writing just gets worse. Wait till you get to rules written by yuppies in Seattle. It's really atrocious. I can't even read that stuff. It's so dry. Well, it's just bad writing. This stuff was written by hand or on an actual typewriter. Later rules were written on computer. There is a physical difference in that. Whenever possible, the other rule booklets will be divided into the same 8 parts to make them easy to combine into one larger set of rules. Every page of the D&D basic rules are numbered B number, and each page also lists the section it is from. All right. Read the whole book through except for the sample dungeon. D&D rules all fit together, and rules that seem confusing at first will become more understandable when used with the rest of the game. 40 years later, I'm still confused. This is not like any other game you've ever played before. It is more important that you understand the ideas in the rules than that you know every detail about the game. When you understand how they work, the rules will become more understandable. While the material in this booklet is referred to as rules, that is not really correct. Anything in this booklet and other D&D booklets should be thought of as changeable. That's an important concept. Anything that the dungeon master or referee thinks should be changed. This is not to say that everything in this booklet should be discarded. All of this material has been carefully thought out and play tested. However, if, after playing the rules as written for a while, you or your referee, the dungeon master, think that something should be changed, First, think about how the changes will affect the game, and then go ahead. The purpose of these rules is to provide guidelines that enable you to play and have fun, so don't feel absolutely bound to them. Those are words of wisdom for D&D. You can change any rule you want. People change the rules in Monopoly, why not in D&D? So, thanks for watching this video. That's good for now. And if I get enough hits, and when I feel like it, I will film more. So thanks for watching, and that's all I got to say right now. Alright, bye-bye.